to the booth, and today, as you see, it's me and my other guests. We have not co-host here. That's boy
Nope.
Aaron.
What's going on?
Not too much. Not too much.
What would you sum up last weekend? We had one race in Euro, and also we had the All Star March. My bad, everybody. What was your takes on it for last weekend?
I would say it was pretty good. For I'd say a lot of NASCAR fans is maybe a little bit more complicated they would like with all the heats and that type of thing. But another dominating performance by Hendrick. Obviously, Carl Larson getting the win in the end there. But that's kind of my take on it.
You, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Good.
Yeah, but I wasn't really watching the race. But yeah, I can kind of agree with Pat's boy. Just watching it every so often. I think the only thing I was watching it was the Open. That was like the only thing I watched a little bit. But then I was so much more focused on our race at Homestead that I just completely forgot about it until I realized Brad was like in second or something like that. But that was like the only time I was starting to care about it.
You got
Yeah.
anything, Aaron?
Yeah. I was just gonna say it's well, yeah. The race went a lot better than I think a lot of people were assuming it would go. It still wasn't brilliant in my mind. The only reason why the racing was as close as it was because you never really had a chance for a long green flag run ever. So it's just it. I fear for when we do need to go back to Texas later this year, if we run this package where it's the 550 horsepower and you keep the stupid PJ1, it doesn't provide good racing. And whoever decided to redo the banking in turns 1 and 2 needs a solid spanking, because dear God, that killed any bit of racing at that track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, the track hasn't really been doing that great as of late. And up until Coda, that was basically technically my state's home track. And the performances there, I think there hasn't really been a great Texas Motor Speedway race. I think not since the fall 2014 race.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I had to fix something. My mic disconnected. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I was saying I agree with you, Aaron. I think the PJ1. I think we should stop using the lower horsepowers. It's not good racing, to be honest with you. I think the last time I can recall good racing, and the last decade of 2010 to 2021, I didn't watch a lot of 15 to 16 because I dropped off NASCAR for a bit. I think probably 2014, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too with this year's All-Star race, at least something that I saw, was how heavy drafting played a role in this race. I mean, anytime you had a restart or anything like that, and I think Carl Larson and even Kyle Busch a couple of times got such great pushes that just kind of ended anyone else's chances. Because if you didn't have a good push, the leader just got a huge run, and no one else could really catch up to them.
Yeah, I was seeing that in the Xfinity race. Every time restart, you needed a push to go off the line.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
But then pretty much, I think after that, you could at least pull away or something, or kind of go in a little bit closer, and then you can kind of pull away in the Xfinity cars. You can't really do that in the Cup cars.
Yeah, it's because they have less grip, but it just works a lot better for them.
Yeah.
Speaking of the grip, I saw I did see some parts of the opening. Eric Jones crash, as you saw when he gets in the PJ1 and it was halfway on the regular track, it kind of messes up and kind of makes the wrecks a lot worse, to be honest. He could have saved it if it wasn't PJ1 there, be honest with it.
Yeah, and another thing was again who can stop the Hendrick cars at this point? Because now we get into a point where Kyle Larson I think is one of the last 3 races, including this All Star race, and that was a pretty dominant fashion. Do you think that there's anything our teams can do to stop these guys at this point?
I think they can, but I think they're too worried about next season now since we're almost halfway through. Last year,
Yeah.
Hendrick put a lot of development towards this year because they fell off. So I think, especially we saw with last few races of the season, you saw Hendrick did start to build up. Now, since it's mid-season, you see they're actually getting into the groove of things. And it kind of helps out the team, but Joe Gibbs, they could, but I don't know if they'll risk it for the season and not worry about next gen's car.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting to think about because I mean, well, I guess that's Kyle Busch Motorsports has been doing so well in Xfinity lately. I don't know, and Kyle Busch has not done. He's done pretty well this season. He hasn't done as well as he has been. So I don't know. We'll have to see with that.
And remember, as we see, he needs practice. As we saw the Charlotte race, he did pretty well. He had practice actually going on for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think continuing with NASCAR, GRL's last race was this weekend. Spectacular 267 lap race, our longest race of the season. Well, in any series in our series so far, GRL and the league. I think it was one of the best races we ever seen. In the
Oh,
league.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about from beginning to end, in middle as well. Great racing. I mean, it didn't get much better than that. Obviously, we did have a bit of a top 3, which are constantly the same the whole race. But even they went through their whole challenges. I think Frodo, Jason, even at some points got mixed up with their fuel, and even getting arguably wrecked. They had to come back from far position, but they still reigned superior. But that didn't stop them from creating great racing.
Yeah, definitely. It was. I wish I hadn't bowed out early, and I might have maybe played strategy or something like that. But those guys were, even if I were to go off of strategy or something like that and had not bowed out early, those guys were in a class of their own that race. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, Kobe, Frodo, and Jason just did a really good job. But even though battling, they pull away from the pack. That was amazing for a top 3 lead most of the race. Sometimes 2 of them will be almost a lap down from the leader, and the leader will come back around. And sometimes the gap changes, like if they get a jump or not. It's the best racing we've seen because we usually do short races. I think the longer races, as we saw at Homestead, does benefit it. Just that we don't have all the tracks for NASCAR. I think it would be better if we did. If we had more. Indianapolis could have been a good thing if we did it. Do a longer race, maybe. But in Indianapolis lately for NASCAR. But we're GRL and it's Forza, so it could work.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this comes back that the first Daytona race is 200 laps. Because I think it would benefit it easily and make it just as entertaining as what the Homestead race was.
Well, if we get a package right for Daytona, or if we're on Forza Motorsport 8 and they solve the top bottom issue, then I think Daytona would be good as well.
Well, yeah, and I also think with all the gained knowledge that we got from season 1, obviously with the season 1, and anytime you're starting a series, you're spending most of the time, working out the kinks and everything that's wrong with your series and finding out what works and what doesn't work. And so I think with that knowledge that we have from Homestead and how the packs have been working in our racing league and all that good stuff, I think he can apply that to a Daytona, and maybe you can run a 200 lap race and have it be just that epic. It's just a concern of, I think, cautions, obviously, because the last time we had Daytona, or the time before that actually, we had the most wrecks we've ever seen in a GRO race, which is about 17 wrecks.
Now it's half the distance of Homestead.
Yeah,
and then obviously Daytona, what would it have been? Well, I call it the July Daytona race didn't have that much, and I was in that race.
Yeah. I think by the second time we got a little bit better with, and obviously by that time we went to um single file restarts, which it did help a lot.
I think single file restarts made the entire difference there.
Yeah.
Because at
absolutely.
that point because when you when you introduced the single file restarts, people could no longer take it 3 wide into turn 1, which I assume I didn't see the first Daytona race because that happened before I joined GRL, but
Yeah.
that sort of move is what probably led to a good 90% of the cautions. Were
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
lap 1 pileups from people being way too aggressive.
And my hope, at least, honestly, I think single file restarts are great. But I think it's a good disciplinary move. And the fact that people can start doing that, and maybe we can move back to an environment where we do double wide restarts.
Yeah.
It just depends, how people take it. And as long as people learn not to take it 3 wide into T1, as you said, which causes a lot of issues, I think we could have a great racing with 2 wide still. And that kind of proved itself true, actually, with the Homestead race, because we did actually go double wide most of the time. And not too many issues, really. I mean, there's a solid amount of cautions, but nowhere near to the effect of the Daytona race.
Yeah, as you were saying, disciplinary move. I think since we did single file for like 2.5 months, when we got to Homestead, I think people started becoming more patient. Not just I think also because the race distance was longer, 267 laps.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to just stay focused and not trying to worry about the jumping the start or trying to get past someone. Just taking your time. I think also if we did have longer races, we'll have less cautions as we saw.
Yeah. But then you also have to realize with longer races, fatigue and all that stuff kicks in, and hands getting a little bit sweaty. You're losing a little bit more control and stuff.
But overall, I think Homestead was fine. I think because it was a shorter track, 200 laps was pretty easy to. If you looked at it, we barely had cautions. Also, I think we could do short races, but I think for short races, especially for road courses, we should stay with single file for road coursing because we did have issues with things like that. It would be best to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely for NASCAR, I think it's probably best to do single wide. Just so you don't have, extreme dive bombs or, like a Road America type of case we had, which was, probably the second worst race we had, if not the first. Because you had people diving into T1 going about 5-6 wide. Even some people uncharacteristically, or maybe characteristically, crashing under caution and wrecking people. So I think for what we've seen from road course racing, we need that single wide to keep our sanity and to keep people from diving into T1 like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the series in NASCAR, well, not NASCAR, GRL, do single file. We're not all of them except for Formula E. We did go to single. I think it just benefits everybody on road coursing if we do single file. Corvette Cup, as we saw, not really much of a caution issue. I think it's just more of patience. People just need to get used to the league racing. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, like you said, like I said originally, I think it's a nice disciplinary move to kind of test people's patience to see how they do in single wide. And if they show that they can do well, then you can move back to double wide and you can have a Homestead situation where things work out great.
Yeah. All right, now we're moving on to the next chapter of the podcast, which is F1 Race Week at Paul Ricard. Your takes of those, what's going to happen between Red Bull and Mercedes, and Grosjean's test is postponed, and possibly, no, not possibly, will be restrictions against wings now. A little bit more tighter, I'd say. A little more tighter restrictions. Aaron, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just thinking. It's weird. I personally don't know who's going to be quickest, Red Bull or Mercedes, at this track. I personally think that whatever measures the FIA have gone through to double check the wings and whatnot isn't really going to change much. If they've been inside the parameters to begin with, then adding on a few extra tests shouldn't reveal anything else in my mind. It's just kind of, yeah. I'm. This is probably going to be the one. This track, like Spain, is we're kind of going into this with low expectations because the French Grand Prix has never produced great racing in the modern era. So maybe it pulls a Spain and we get something that's pretty decent. But otherwise, we'll see.
I'll take a comment from the live chat. Mystic Sim Racing. What do you guys think of Pirelli blaming Aston Martin and Red Bull for their failures at Baku?
I think they need to own up to it and stop being pussies.
I
Yeah.
agree. Definitely.
I mean, Red Bull shouldn't be complaining. They did win with
No, but
Perez.
it's the
No,
it's
but
the
they still should have been able to increase their championship lead. Is the point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They
obviously.
didn't.
also because the cost of a car failure like that, it's just random during the race. And plus, to blame the teams that's just the dumb move for me and for Pirelli. Let's say for Pirelli, you can't blame a team if you say it's gonna go 40 laps. It doesn't even make 40 laps. It got to like lap 37, so about
35.
35 on
35
Stroll,
laps.
and then 27 or 29 on Verstappen, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it's pretty silly for a tire supplier to be blaming a team for their tires going out on them. I mean, sure, you can make it say, hey, our tires are only supposed to go this far. But at the same time, you're a tire company. You're supposed to be able to make
Let
tires
me
that are
find the actual
sustainable.
wording of the article they used here.
I
'Cause
just think
know
that's
it
kind of silly.
says-
I think they were saying they don't know the cause of it or something.
No, they figured out what the issue was. Hang on, I gotta find it though.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, as for Baku race, we missed that weekend. It was a good race. Well, I wouldn't say a good race. In my opinion, I'd say a good. It was good to watch, but it wasn't a good race because we had two drivers crash out of dangerous tire failures. I wouldn't say it was any type of danger to an F1 driver. I wouldn't say it's a good race. But
All right,
Yeah.
I found the quote. So Pirelli stated tire failure down to a circumferential break on the goodness gracious, on the inner sidewall, which can be related to the running conditions of the tire, in spite of the prescribed starting parameters, minimum tire pressure and maximum blanket temperature, having been followed. Meaning they're not really blaming Red Bull. They're blaming the fact that it was being ran in a certain way. Essentially what they're saying is we fucked up in saying in recommending too low of a tire pressure.
yeah, that's what it sounds like to me because you're the one that recommended the tire pressure, so can't blame them for anything. Only thing it points back
Teams
to
didn't do anything wrong. It's a matter of either Pirelli said the wrong, like miscalculated what tire pressures were required for 40 laps, or the construction of the tire itself was faulty or whatever.
Well, I thought I heard on the F1 broadcast that Pirelli was testing a new tire or something like that this season.
It's the tire construction itself is new to this year
Yeah.
from last year.
Mhm.
Because again, because the cars are now going so fast, they need to build a more structurally sound tire to withstand the forces and whatnot.
Mm.
And although I feel like it more or less came down to the fact that they decided, we're going to run a compound softer than we did last year.
Yeah, and
Or
that's what
2 years ago.
I heard. So like when you run a compound software like that, it makes it easier for the tire to lose grip faster and
deteriorate, like as we saw with the
Yeah.
carcasses to Verstappen.
They
and
they did
Stroll.
it in the
Yeah.
they did it in the attempt to better the pit strategy of the race. In hindsight,
Yeah.
they didn't really realize that. Oh wait, crap! The tires won't be able to go that long.
Yeah, I
But
was
then
gonna
they put
say.
out 40 laps, but no one goes 40 laps on the tires yet.
No.
Yeah.
It's not
And
the first time Pirelli has done this, as we saw the past few years. Silverstone, 2015 or 16, if I remember.
17.
17, there it is. 2 tire failures the same exact way. Front tire. It's the same thing. Pirelli does this and then just hides behind and says, we don't know. Or if not, just says this circumstance, which still blames yourself for it.
They're trying to not pull a Michelin from the 2005 Grand Prix, but you know what? Damage has already been done. So
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
on. Move on and own up to your own mistake instead of blaming it on something else.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, to original point of France, I think I'll go back off what you say, Aaron. I think we're in the unknown, but we've known on so far not real tracks, purpose made F1 circuits, which they call them, like Paul Ricard. I think we're gonna see another Mercedes very close battle with Red Bull. I see Red Bull could be leading the race some parts and Mercedes back and forth. As for entertainment wise, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know too much about the upcoming Grand Prix, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I rarely care about F1 unless it's like, I don't know, maybe something interesting has happened or they're racing at a track that's near me. Like, I know they're racing at Coda later this year, but that'll probably be the only time I give a crap about F1.
Yeah. Okay, now we're on to NASCAR. Is it this week or next week? I can't
This
remember.
week
week
it's this
they're
weekend.
in Kentucky Super Speedway.
No, it's Nashville, I
Not
think.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Nashville.
Oh yeah, Nashville, yeah.
New track to this. Well, not new track. A track coming to the schedule. I think it's gonna be really entertaining.
I really do too.
Well, what it's got going for it is that it's a concrete surface, so tire wear is going to be through the roof, which in theory should be good. I believe we're running the 750 horsepower package, which again, good.
Yep.
It's really going to come down to whether or not I'm holding judgment on this because it is kind of a cookie cutter oval, D-shaped oval.
Yeah.
But it's slightly smaller than the mile and a half, being at a 1.3 mile speedway. So we'll see. I'm not getting my hopes up too much yet. I'm gonna be optimistically cautious
Yeah, I
about
agree.
it,
Also, I don't
or
hope.
cautiously optimistic about it.
Yeah, I just hope one team doesn't dominate the whole race. Hendrick Motorsports.
I was gonna say, let's hope Kyle Larson doesn't dominate another one. Not that him winning is bad. It's just
Entertainment
it's
wise,
getting a little old now.
It is starting to get a little old.
I think it's getting to the point where he's now realizing he's the guy for Hendrick. He's like the new Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson of the team now.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, it's interesting how we had this poster child per se. That I mean, I think everyone can kind of agree. Most NASCAR fans kind of hate at this point. Chase Elliott, he came out of kind of nowhere last season, dominated the season, and won the championship. And now
I
Kyle
wouldn't say
Larson comes
Elliott
back.
dominated the
No,
season.
that was-
Elliott did not dominate the season last year.
Yeah,
That's
that's
Harvick and
last season
Hamlin.
was Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick, who if they still
Yeah.
were doing the whole old school format, Harvick would have won his 4th championship without
Yeah.
a doubt. He was
Yeah, don't even
that
get me
great.
started on that. I hated how that last season ended for Harvick. Oh, that Martinsville race. Oh.
Bring back the Winston Cup championship.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be a 4-time champion right now. And we would also be talking about Jeff Gordon being a 7-time champ.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
I just
But my
think, yeah, go ahead,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say my point is that Chase Elliott came out kind of nowhere last year and won the championship, and he was this uprising star who many were looking to maybe dominate this season. And then Kyle Larson comes back from suspension. It's just like, nah, I'm gonna steal your shine and just win, the last 3 races and just prove
Dominate most of
everyone
the season
wrong.
so far. The thing,
Yeah.
the thing is, people don't realize Kyle Larson was always good. To be honest, he just needed a better team.
Yeah.
If you look at his first season, second season, and third season, you can see he's really fast. He just didn't have the backing like Hendrick Motorsports. To be
Yeah.
honest, if he's been there, if let's say for instance he went there before they did, he'll been a champion by now. Being honest.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Right,
2017
at risk of
season
being
alone was
absolutely
wonderful.
killed by both you guys and the live stream chat, I'm actually kind of a fan of the current playoff format.
At times it's cool, but I think at the end of championship, sometimes like as we see, someone sneaks in, wins a championship.
Think about it
It's
this way, though.
just-
Think about it this way. Would you rather see a championship fight go all the way to the end, or have someone have it wrapped up by 2 rounds to go?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I get
I mean-
that, yeah, but
You're
it's just
guaranteed
like,
a championship battle at the end of the year, no matter what. And
Yeah,
and
here's
you
the
don't
thing,
have to
tell
deal
that-
with a dominant car unless they truly are dominant.
yeah. Tell that to those who have watched the sport since 70s, 80s, 90s. They will tell you to say that crap does not belong in NASCAR.
Well, because they're not used to change. I think Aaron has a point there. You should take it to the wire. I think what they could do is like what F1's going to be doing next. Well, from this season to next season, I think they should limit the top teams a lot harder throughout the season. Like when they get towards like, say for instance, mid-season, you're dominating, you're far ahead of everyone else. I think we should start capping you right here. You're at your limit, and then everyone else should build up the rest of the season with a little bit more percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. The only thing about that though is that I think you're punishing people for being good.
Well, I
The-
mean,
Yeah.
if you're here for the entertainment, you're technically still doing that with the playoffs.
Right.
Because
I'm just saying
Hamlin and Harvick had a dominant season, and you capped them basically with that
Yeah.
playoffs system.
I agree with you. I just think like how F1's doing, I think if they see that like, say if Hendrick went on a run for like the next 2 or 3 years and no one else got close, then I can think you can start doing that. But if they're dominating for one season, I don't really see a need to do that because
Okay,
I think
I got a question to that.
all right.
Did Elliott dominate last season?
No,
No, he did not.
No.
Who won the championship?
Chase
Chase
Elliott.
Elliott. Well, you see that I don't want to say that's a special case because I don't really think it is. Because Harvick's team and Stuart Haas just kind of have a breakdown when it got to the playoffs. So I think I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I was just saying with the capping the resources. Hendrick had so much more to build up, and as you've seen, they built up from last season to this season. They're dominating the first half of the season. Also,
Yeah.
the reason why I'm saying that is because from 2010 to 2020, name how many Hendrick drivers have won a championship.
I couldn't tell you.
2010 to 2020.
Yep.
Johnson and Elliott.
Yeah.
Only once.
Jimmy won 3 during that
Mhm.
time, and then Elliott won.
So that's 4. 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And who was
So
other?
hang on. Johnson won in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't 2011. Did not 2013. Johnson won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2016 he won. Then Elliott won 20. Yeah, so 4.
So that's 4 out of 10. Name another team
Yeah.
that has more. That has about 4
Championships in this
in this decade.
deck. Okay, so Penske's got 2. Brad
Gibbs
and
got-
Joey.
Gibbs got 2.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Haas has 2.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, hang on. Did Gibbs get 2 or do they have 1?
Gibbs got 1. Gibbs got 2. Stuart Haas has 2. Stuart Haas has 2. Stuart Haas has 2. Gibbs got 2. Gibbs got 2. Gibbs got 2.
Just
let
keep
me
in mind,
think of this
because
quick.
Truex was technically still driving for
No,
Furniture Row at the time.
that was a team that was it's kind of like that a line affiliation system.
It's still in
that,
college.
Yeah, again, that's not Gibbs though. It's still
it's not
their
Gibbs.
it's still their people. It's still their own people. It's still technically their own equipment. They just happen to have a technical alliance with Gibbs.
Yeah, they have a tactical
So
alliance.
Gibbs
with
has
Furniture Row
one.
at that point. Yeah.
Gibbs has one. Furniture Row has one.
No, Gibbs has two. Kyle Busch in 2015 and 2019.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, crap.
So, yeah, Hendrick has 4 with 3 different
Right.
drivers. I'm just saying
how-
if How's that?
Stuart Haas, how many did they? No, it's just the one in 2014, wasn't it?
Yep.
I mean, they were
Stuart
there
Haas-
everywhere
no,
else, but
Stuart Haas, 2011 and 2014.
oh yeah, that's right, because Stuart.
Yeah, Stuart.
So everyone
Okay, so
else
2.
has a cap of 2. Hendrick has 4. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That. Even
Yeah.
back then, you saw Hendrick dominate. Look at all the wins they had.
Yeah, I got you. I'm just trying to say
Oh,
that
hang
if
on.
you have
Let's. How about we look at this when the actual playoff format came into play here, for a more accurate rating here.
Yep.
Hendrick's back down to 2.
Yep. So they would be tied with.
And who
Gibbs
won
at
in?
2.
Wait, hang on. 20. That was all. Okay, Hendrick and. Okay, so then Penske would be down to 1.
Yep.
But yeah, so everyone else is at 2. Penske's at 1.
But I'm
Now
gonna make a
now
more-
think of it this way: you got Gibbs, Hendrick, Haas, right? Those 3
Yep.
are at 2. You've had 5 different teams win the championship in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like my point is if you have like the run that Mercedes is on in F1, like if you have something like that, sure, you can cap them and all that good stuff. But if you're like you just point out, Aaron, how there's been different teams within the last decade they have won, that's okay to me. I'm just saying that if you have a run like Mercedes or like say more than a 3-year run and Hendrick dominates, then you can start capping them. That's my point.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Mercedes is technically not their fault. Red Bull had more money to spend when they started dominating the season. Same with Ferrari. Ferrari had more money than anybody. 17, they
Yeah.
should have won it. 18, they should have won it. 19, that was kind of their fault. Red Bull should have won 2014, but they were too busy worried about 2013 to win the championship, even though they basically sealed it.
Yeah.
Mercedes is just within the regulations. Everyone else had about the same amount of money. You shouldn't have let Mercedes gotten that too far. Got far ahead
Right.
of that.
Well, hang on. Let's talk about that 2013 instance for Red Bull, okay?
Yep.
Because what sealed it for them was Vettel's 9 wins in a row streak.
And that's what I'm saying.
But that was late in the season.
Yep. But I'm saying
So
they wrapped it
they
up.
kind of so they were still kind of pushing it.
The thing is, they could have won even without that. They kept developing, and they even admit they're still developing on other cars. Ferrari and Mercedes started moving on. You could have let the development stay and just move to next season. You could have been in 2014 or been at least close.
Well, what race did they say they were still working on it?
I think it was after Hungary because Mercedes got their second win of the season.
So Hungary was the last time they said they were still working on the car.
Yeah.
You said, right? Yeah, that is before Vettel's 9-race win streak.
Here's the thing. Hungary, that's kind of on. That
was mid-season,
mid-season. You went back
and the
to
championship
development.
was still wide open.
But I'm saying you had a better car for most of those tracks. They did. Performance-wise,
Right, but
Mercedes was not there. They just only had bad tires. If they went to the other tracks, they would have not been there at all.
I think we're trying to say the same thing here, but we're not trying to agree. My point is the fact that they were still developing the car through the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Hmm.
By the time Vettel hits his 9-race win streak, yeah, they've moved on from that current season and they've started development of next season's car.
Mm.
So that's what I'm saying.
By
If the-
Hungary, but at Hungary, they are still the championship is still wide open. So yeah, why throw away the chance to win this championship to focus on next year when you still have the shot of winning this year?
Do you like how other teams like? Well, okay. Let's go back. I'm gonna have to go at the points from Hungary, from where it was, and the tracks that fit the Red Bull at the time. I have to go back at that. But I'm quite sure they could have dominated. They had the best car, to be honest. Yes, the championships back then, 2012, 2013, were more open, but towards the end, Red Bull always closed it. 2012, look at that. Even though that was kind of Abu Dhabi's fault, being honest. That Alonso couldn't overtake. Alonso could have won that championship.
That was 2010. You're
2010,
thinking
I'd
of.
say. Yeah, 2010. I keep mixing up the years. But yeah, I think, yes, Red Bull still had more money than Mercedes technically at the time. 2014 could have developed a car. They started catching up, but they were kind of behind at the time. Ferrari caught back up 2017. I'm just saying Mercedes walked away because people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Vettel could have won the championship, but it was his mistake. He kind of messed that up Singapore.
And the fact that the technical regulations for 2014 were already being discussed back in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercedes, having not been extremely competitive in those seasons, focused their development extremely early on the 2014 regulations.
Yeah,
That's why they were that dominant.
someone covered a video. We're saying every team knew about this, but they didn't. They didn't decide to do it though. Too busy about the current championship and current regulations. So it's kind of on other teams' hands to really catch up to Mercedes. They did, but they kind of fell apart. 17 and 18 Ferrari should have won it, to be honest.
Yeah. So I'm interested to know. Obviously Red Bull is really, really close to getting to Mercedes, I think, at this point. You know, you've had Verstappen win a couple races, now you've had correct me if I'm wrong, Perez win that race that Verstappen crashed out in.
Yep.
Forget what exactly circuit that was.
Baku, blame Pirelli.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see any other teams potentially catching up to their level anytime soon?
Next year, yes.
Honestly, next year maybe. But for now, it's going to be Red Bull and Mercedes,
Especially the budget cap
unless
now.
something absolutely drastic happens in a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Okay. And
It's,
Go ahead.
I think because the budget cap, no one's going to really develop too much. As a lot of teams were saying, we're worried about next season, so we'll see how that works
Mhm.
out.
who do you think that team will be? I'm just curious.
McLaren probably.
Ferrari.
Yeah, that's what I was
McLaren or Ferrari will be close to jump.
Yeah, I was thinking McLaren. Honestly, now that you brought that up, I was kind of nervous to say it just because you guys know more about F1 than I do. But yeah, I just think Dylan Ricardo, he's done decent. I feel like at McLaren.
Still not even
I
clear
honestly
for him.
thought,
He's
Huh?
not been to the level of science at McLaren.
yeah,
so-
I was
Yeah,
just gonna say,
yeah,
I thought he was one good team away from being, possibly great. And at least so far, that hasn't been the case. He's been running solid top tens every race or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
just not quite there yet. But I think, Lando Norris, I think he's something to watch out for. I think if McLaren gets a little bit better, I think he could be really good because he's had a few breakthrough performances this year, in fact.
yeah. Lando
Yeah.
really knows how McLaren works. He, as we saw when he first came in, yes, he wasn't as good at science, but second season he was sometimes beating science. He's a really fast driver. I think for Ricardo, it's like how he was when he switched from Red Bull to Renault. First season was
Mhm.
okay the first half, and then he just got better throughout the season. It just takes some time to change from different cars.
Yeah. And do you think he has the potential to maybe get up to Science's level? Maybe?
Well, I mean, he is a 7-time winner, so definitely.
Yeah.
He just needs time, like as you see his first Renault season. He wasn't there the first half of the season. Second half, he appears. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I think so what? Ferrari has Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Sainz I think will be really good. I don't know how. I would have to get your guys' opinion on it. How good Charles Leclerc will be. I think he's been pretty
He's a
decent.
championship material.
You think so?
Mm.
Yeah, if you see his first few seasons, yes. Definitely.
Okay. All right.
What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, it's plain and simple. If you were to throw Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, and Norris all into the same car, I'm fairly certain that order would probably end up being Verstappen, Hamilton. I want to say Leclerc, then Norris, then Leclerc, Sainz, and Norris are all very, very close to each other in terms of their own raw pace.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Verstappen's probably a solid 3/10 ish quicker than them when everything's hooked up,
Yeah.
and Hamilton maybe 2/10, give or take.
In my opinion, I'd probably say Lewis close second for Verstappen. Really close, I'd probably say like the smallest of margins very close, and then Leclerc. I think
Yeah,
Yeah.
Verstappen, Hamilton, just they dominate their teammates a lot of the time. So,
I know we haven't really talked about him, but I'm surprised you didn't mention Valtteri Bottas.
Bottas is just not quick.
no,
He just
He
isn't.
is. He is. It's
Okay,
that when you
let-
put.
let me rephrase it.
it.
Williams,
Mhm.
in his days at Williams, he was pretty good.
Yep.
But whatever the heck happened to him mentally at Mercedes, he is their weakest link right now.
Yeah.
I'll actually go more into that. It's not Mercedes. He's like a Barrichello. You put an average driver compared to a championship driver, it doesn't work. It doesn't look good for him. Barrichello is a good driver. If you take him out Ferrari and take him aside from Schumacher, he's really good. But when you put him against a multi-time champion, it just doesn't shine the same way. And then sometimes the past few years is kind of bad luck, or if not, he's not on pace where he should be. As we saw in Imola and Baku, yes, he were. Well, Baku will take away because he was on a higher downforce setup, so and he chose that. So
I really
yeah.
don't think that was his entire problem.
Yeah,
He
well,
was battling with a Williams at one point and not just Baku, at Imola as well.
Yep.
If he's battling a Williams, which is a still relatively backmarker car,
third best,
and a
third, second best car.
Mercedes, which
Yep.
is what should be a completely identical car, was still battling for the win
Definitely
in the same race.
I think Turkey was
That
a
is
huge
no
fall
that
off.
is no longer on the team. That is on the driver.
That's what I was saying. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. I think last year, especially, first part of the season, he's good. He had his first win. Towards midseason, he had a huge drop off, and Turkey was just a bad example for him. He just did. He was nowhere. Won 6 times and then got lapped by his teammate. So
So I guess now my question kind of is, what do you think the deal will be with Bottas? Do you think Mercedes gets to a point where they don't want him on the team, or he doesn't want to stay on the team?
Well,
If so, who do
supposedly
you
there was a rumor that the deal was already signed with Russell to replace Bottas, but
I
it's
think that might
again
happen.
a rumor. But
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say,
a
so what-
rumor, but I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure. So I'm not sure how accurate it is, but
Yeah,
it's a possibility that's on the table.
I definitely think that's possible. Especially, I think Mercedes and him are coming to more of like they need to separate from each other. I think he'll be more down to Bottas at this time. I think he
Yeah.
might have his last season here, but also I think, in my opinion, also because now today, I was gonna say this, but if Hamilton retires, like I said, for instance, he gets the championship or not, no championship. If he retires this season, I was gonna put Ocon there, but Ocon signed to Alpine. I don't know who would sit beside Russell. It's either Van Dorn or someone new.
yeah. And the thing I find it interesting with Valtteri is
Who would sit next to who?
I said who would sit next to Russell if he does go there, if Bottas decides to leave, and if Hamilton retires this season, let's say.
So well, we know for a fact Hamilton's not going to retire this year. It's just
I
not.
know, I was just putting that on the table.
Okay, so on the hypothetical that Bottas leaves Mercedes and Russell goes to Mercedes.
Mhm.
So Mercedes has a completely new driver lineup.
Mhm.
Is what you're saying? Okay. In that sort of case, they would.
I would put Van Dorn, but I think that's the best option.
Van Dorn would not be a good call, frankly. It's as promising as he looked in the one race in Abu Dhabi that one year. I still don't have enough confidence in him to do that.
Well, it is Mercedes. They
Realistically,
trust their reserve drivers.
I would see Nick DeFries maybe.
I don't know if they'll put him. He's like in Formula
Well-
E as it is. I don't know.
As Van Dorn is his teammate in Formula E, though.
I know. But Van Dorn really
De
wants
Vries-
that seat, so I don't know.
But DeFries has been outperforming Van Dorn in Formula E.
How long has DeFries been doing Formula E?
2 seasons?
Hmm.
Ever since Mercedes joined?
No, before that. I'm pretty sure he was in 2017.
No,
I'm not for sure.
no, he wasn't.
I
He
just can't
wasn't.
remember all the names. I watched Formula E, but I have not been watching.
I can tell you right now, he was a rookie in the same season Mercedes joined,
Yeah,
which was 2018.
that's 2.5 seasons now. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't
again,
know.
he's been
Has De Vries-
outperforming Van Dorn
has-
this entire time.
Does De
He,
Vries has a
in my
super license
book,
still?
he would be the one to get. Does he have what?
Does he still have his super license points for
Yeah.
F1?
Formula E uses a super license.
No, I was saying the same amount of points for enough for F1, if needed.
I should imagine that it would be fine.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, they throw him in a young driver test or whatever. It's not going to be a Alonso scenario. He is
Oh, no,
still
no.
pretty young.
I just
And like,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say to bring, I guess, kind of back to Valtteri Bottas and Mercedes. They've obviously had a great 1-2 punch with Hamilton and Valtteri, but I think like you kind of mentioned, it would probably be best for Mercedes at this point to go a little bit younger, considering Lewis Hamilton is getting a little bit higher in age, perhaps.
Well,
Yep.
Hamilton is 36, and he has said he doesn't want to race at 40. So
Right.
he does retire in the next 4 years. We know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so with that being said, I think it's definitely in Mercedes' best interest to kind of get young as fast as possible, especially if they
The,
can
the
get.
other issue is, if they don't sign Russell this year, then
They'll
they
probably
are
go Alpine.
now. No, it's a matter of they are starting to waste resources on Russell,
Yeah,
and
that's
Russell
what I'm saying.
does not want to be in Williams anymore.
And
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. I said most likely his best option could be Alpine, because Alonso's not
I
sure
don't
if
see him
staying,
going to Alpine.
because they had options to get him. Alpine said, I don't know how far in detail they said with that, but there's no other really good options that I can think of for him to go to.
If George Russell goes to Alpine, he will have burned his bridge with Mercedes.
Yeah.
And keep in
Yes.
mind that Total Wolff is his manager, so to speak. So I don't see him leaving that Mercedes family.
Where would he
Not
go
until
then?
he gets absolutely fed up. He's either gonna have to suck it up with Williams for one more season and just get used to the 2022 cars in a Williams, which, to be fair,
Could be better.
Williams could pull something out of their ass and make 2022 a really good season.
well,
Yeah,
it was
Merce-
interesting actually. Sorry, I was watching a video today about how, I forget what exact car it was, but Williams, I think it was in the early '90s, had a super and crazy F1 car that basically was super ahead of its time, had active suspension, ABS, TCS, and a bunch of other stuff. And
1992.
yeah, and the FAA saw that, it was like, no, we can't be having this, so that not as good drivers can get in and dominate. And at that point on, they're basically saying Williams got screwed over. with everything like that. And so ever since then, they've been trying to play catch up, and haven't had the money to do so. And like you were saying,
They've been competitive
The early
past
2000s they had the money.
1992, though.
Yeah, the early 2000s
yeah,
they had the money.
2003, they were competing for wins.
Yep.
yeah, I'm just saying they weren't ever as good as they were going to be in the early 90s and 92, I think is what you said.
It was just down to bad decisions. Some seasons they did had some options, but we'll have to see. There's more details that we don't know about. I mean, that I don't know about. But I'm pretty sure Aaron probably knows.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting because I know that they were saying, and you were saying too, about capping some of the better teams. Williams couldn't make a comeback, and I think I saw. Aren't they capping the amount of money that teams can spend
They're
in
doing
the
it this
coming
year
year?
and next year. Also, they're
Yeah,
capping
yeah,
the amount of time during the wind tunnel. So
yeah.
they're buying
And from what yeah, and so from what I heard is that Williams, with this new cap, has just the right amount of money to maybe make a push.
having that was some Mercedes affiliation now. Well, more of it, and they just got a new driveline for him this year. So maybe next season they can get more stuff. As Toto said. So we'll see.
Yeah. And who's their driver lineup right now?
Who?
Williams.
Russell and
Russell
Latifi.
and Latifi.
Okay. And so yeah, you were just mentioning how what George Russell wanted to go to Mercedes, right?
Well, he is a Mercedes technically academy. He tested Mercedes. Well, drove it in Sakir. I think it's either this year or next year. This year probably the best option to put Russell in that seat.
Yeah, because I don't know about anything about the other
Or not
guy.
this
I
year,
was just
but
wondering
for
what.
next year, I meant to say.
Latifi is
Yeah.
solely a pay driver for Williams. Otherwise, they have better options in terms of if teams were to go for pure pace in terms of like how fast a driver is instead of who's going to give us the biggest paycheck, like who's going to pay us to give you a seat, sort of deal.
Mm.
I guarantee you, Lance Stroll, Nikita Mazepin, Nicholas Latifi, and maybe one or two others are no longer on the grid and they are replaced by someone else.
I think Stroll on the spot now. Stroll on do it now. He did. He is the last Williams driver to get a podium. So
Yeah, I was
Right.
just gonna say. I wonder what.
Again,
But
he got that. Williams signed him because he was willing to pay them money.
I thought you meant as of now. I thought if you're talking about
No,
going back to
not-
the past, yeah, go ahead and do that. But
That's if you were to go by whoever gets into F1 is by actual pace and not money. Stroll does not make it to F1.
yeah, sadly that's not how a sport is because we missed out on a lot of drivers that should be on the grid. Who was it? That was everyone was talking about. I forgot his name. That should have had the Haas spot. I don't remember.
I don't
De
know.
Vries.
Was it De Vries?
De Vries was a McLaren reserve, or yeah. McLaren. Yeah, he was a academy driver for McLaren, and was let go because he wasn't able to, because paychecks and whatnot just did not align, and he wasn't able to bring enough sponsorship money. So they brought in other drivers.
Yeah, that's the thing I hate. There's a lot of good drivers out let go because they didn't have the funding for them anymore. To be honest, yes, the driver that I'm about to say had some attitude in there, but he proves that he had some pace. Pascal Wehrlein.
Yeah.
Wehrlein was a decent driver. Again, it came down to
Yeah.
wasn't providing enough money, and they needed to get rid of, and Sauber needed to choose either him or Ericsson because they needed to bring in
Money.
who was it at the time? No, there was a driver at the. Oh, they needed to bring in a Leclerc
Yeah.
at the time. Because keep in mind that was the same year that Alfa Romeo was signing on for money, And Ferrari was like, "Yeah, no. If you want to keep our engines and this Alfa Romeo sponsorship, you need to bring in our reserve as well,
Yeah.
or our academy driver as well, because he's just won the F2 championship and he's not allowed to stay in there for another year."
Yeah,
Which,
so that was kind of
to those who don't understand the rule, the F2 champ, if you become a Formula 2 champion, you're not allowed to return to that. You're not allowed to defend your title as it is. You
Oh,
are
really?
required to move on to the next series. And
Yeah,
if
that's
you
interesting.
can't find a seat in Formula 1, sucks to be you.
Yep.
I don't like that at all.
Well, it's a
I,
matter of trying to keep the cycle of drivers moving through.
I get
And
that.
Sadly,
It's
F1
just
can't
like
do that.
And that's often how we end up getting quite a few Formula 1 spec drivers in things like Formula E and DTM and whatnot.
well, I
Sadly,
mean, at least, yeah. I mean, at least there's enough series for them to go to. It's just kind of sad to hear that if you're good enough to win an F2 championship, you're either good enough to go in F1 or you're not. You know, you're not good enough, and you have to go to another series. I think it's kind of sad, but I
you
guess
don't
it
have
kind
enough
of
funding. Don't
yeah.
get that funding also.
Yeah, but I guess it maybe prevents something like Kyle Busch in the Xfinity series from happening. Being so dominant in a lower series that you don't really leave. So I guess that's one good thing of it, but I don't know. It just seems a little sad to me that you can't stay in a series once you won it.
Mhm.
I mean, there's some good things. A lot of drivers moved on. They've done some good stuff.
Yeah,
Won the F2 champion. Sadly, a lot of F2 champions don't really make it to F1 all the time, or if not, competitive drivers don't make it to F1 all the time.
yeah, and I guess like the other nice thing with it is that since there is a thing like Formula E, I think that can really contribute to Formula E becoming even bigger than it already is.
Yeah.
Because you get these really young, talented drivers in there who you could say are F1 rejects, and they can do really great things for Formula E.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The last thing, Adis Imza this weekend, Sebring.
Mhm.
What's your takes on it and how? I hope Aaron doesn't walk away with this again. But Emu.
I haven't walked away with any of these races
I'm
so far,
saying-
by the way.
I
It's been a
said-
close battle between me and Ogre every single race so far. So
I'm
don't
s-
even give me that.
You'll,
You didn't even let
you'll
me
at
finish.
least have a new team
didn't let
coming
me
in
finish.
with my team making our debut.
I said the two, Aaron and Ogre, dominate a whole nother race. You let me finish my sentence.
You said Emu though, so that's why.
Yeah, I thought it was Emu, and it has like, oh yeah, Ogre. But yeah, y'all two just walk away, but that's fine. I don't mind it, but need some more battles, not in your series, GTP.
Well-
I mean, we need more GTO drivers because they don't show up apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
you're
wanna
gonna need more
ask,
attempts before that happens.
I do want to ask: is Stoke at least joining? Has he at least been in there? One of my
Oh.
drivers. Oh yeah. So maybe was Daytona the only one he was in?
I don't remember,
Maybe I have to look at it.
but I think
mean,
mostly
after all,
for
So
GTO.
far, it's just been it's in GTO. It's been Unix and Budboy up front so
Yeah.
far.
Damn.
Yeah,
They need more attendance though. There's barely any GTO drivers.
yeah.
Well, Aaron,
sure
at
about
least
that?
I think one of
Yeah,
my drivers.
I was rewatching.
There's been about
I-
There's been 9 or 10 every single race.
No, I'm talking about that finish.
Well, that's partly due to lag outs, but okay.
Sometimes lag out. Some people just have to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just hoping like a more continuation throughout the whole thing. The NASCAR race, yes, is super long. It's longer than most races, but I understand that one. Long race.
Yeah, that's just bound to happen.
Yeah, some people lag out, as we saw. Who was it? Someone was leading, and they told me, and then they lagged out like 10 laps in.
Oh,
Can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah, that tends to happen. I don't like when that happens. when you're just leading and you just flag out. But that's just how it is. Internet connection, Forza. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like something that I know you guys don't watch any golf or anything, but at least not that I know of. That's kind of what happened in one of the earlier tournaments. A guy, John Rahm, was leading the tournament on, I think it was day 3, so round 3. And so he was leading by about 3 strokes at 15 under. And he gets told that he has coronavirus and has to forfeit the tournament.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know, he ends up losing it. And that's what I was kind of thinking about when you were talking about that. Just
Yeah.
that type of heartbreak.
That always tends to happen, especially in a lot with the Forza servers sometimes, or if not, people's internet. Not to blame anybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it kind of sucks when you know you have the win in the bag. You just internet.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like and then it's just like sometimes it's mistakes and stuff. Like with GRL NASCAR, my driver was, I think, what was it? Flicks was in third at Maple Valley and was like, "Oh my God, come on!" And I just thinks he was one of those in the top 5 and was like, "God, it would have been nice to get a win as an owner."
Yeah. That was my best finish that race.
It was a podium, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I was.
But yeah, that tends to happen. It's either overconfident as you're in positions. That tends to happen. You're
Being too aggressive and stuff like that. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
But
It
that's
happens.
that's how racing is sometimes.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Does anyone have anything else?
Nope.
Nothing I can think of.
Other than I'm excited that my team is making their debut in the 80s IMSA race at Sebring this weekend. Nothing else.
Who's your driver?
Do the flop.
Okay.
I'll be at Glen, and I'm trying to think of a third one for Road America. But GTP team is only going to be in, unless Flop wants to run full time. The GTP team is only going to be in the long races.
Oh.
So you won't have to worry about us until maybe September and December. So that's really it.
All right.
Well, I think that's it for our podcast today.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good one. I'm Powers.
Pat's boy.
Damaged Incorporated.
And I'm Aaron.